Hi, I'm Ben Schwartz, and thanks for watching 10 with Ben. Today we're going to do a video about Bad and Busted. This is a newspaper that a friend of mine from Georgia, a client who is down in Georgia, sent this to me. And he basically said, you know, that he moved to Georgia and he was surprised because when you go into a convenience store, there is this magazine or this newspaper called Bad and Busted. And it basically has the mug shots of everybody in the county who's been arrested recently. And so this is I said to him, send me a copy of it so I can see what you're talking about. I didn't believe that he was, I thought he was pulling a gag on me, but actually it turns out it's true. Here's a copy of one of the newspapers that he sent me. And basically everybody that's been arrested, charged with DUI, charged with speeding, charged with a felony, you rob a bank, you shoplift, you're going to be in this newspaper. And so I didn't believe it because where I live, there's no such thing. But it turns out that in some states, if the police publish the mugshot when they arrest somebody, there are these private companies that have newspapers or have websites, and they take the public information, they take the mugshot, the name of the person, and the charges, they publish it. And so I was thinking, like, how is this even possible? And the answer, of course, is, well, we live in America. We've got a Constitution. The First Amendment to the Constitution is freedom of speech. And so these publishers have the freedom of speech to continue the dissemination, to continue to spread information that's already public. It's not private information. It's stuff that's already out there because the police put it out there. You know, looking at it, it kind of just makes me upset for these people because a lot of these folks are not hardened criminals. A lot of these people are young people. Generally, you know, I know from my practice, from my law practice, that people that get involved in the law, people that get arrested and charged with crimes are usually, 18 to 26, 18 to 30 years old, and have a lot of life in front of them, and they may be on the wrong track, they may be using drugs, they might not be thinking clearly, and they might be getting arrested now, but that doesn't mean that when they're 45 or 55 or 65 years old, that they're still going to be caught up in the life, that they're still going to be committing crimes. And so the problem with, from my perspective, the problem with these publications is if this is on the internet, once something's on the internet, it's always on the internet, and there's not really anything you can do to get it off of the internet. And so, these people that are now getting arrested, when they go to get a job 15 years down the road, maybe they've completed their college degree, maybe they got a master's degree, now they're going to get a job as a professional. This is going to come up in a deep internet search when their prospective employer goes looking for them. Another problem that I have with this is, it used to drive me kind of nuts when I did a lot of criminal defense because my clients would end up in the newspaper. There would be an article about my client who, robbed a store or committed some crime. And basically what you need to know is that if you see that somebody's been arrested, that doesn't mean that they actually did it. And the number of times that I represented somebody who was charged with a crime when they factually didn't do it, when they were actually innocent, was significant. It's not like it doesn't happen. Not only do innocent people get wrongfully charged with crimes and later get the charges dismissed, but in a lot of cases, people get overcharged. So what they might have actually done might have been a misdemeanor level crime, but they're getting charged with a felony. And, they end up with a plea bargain, 3, 6, 8 months down the road to a misdemeanor, but they never really should have been charged with a felony in the first place because their criminal activity did not rise to that level. And so oftentimes I'm aware that in a lot of states, I'm not saying this happens in every case, so if you're a police officer or a prosecutor, please do not send me hate mail telling me how wrong I am. But occasionally, in some cases, in some states, in some counties, they make it a practice to charge people with felonies so that everyone will plead out and it's less work for the police and prosecutors. who don't have to go trying cases. You know, when you look at the dockets of some criminal courts and you see that almost all cases result in guilty pleas, but to lesser included offenses of what was originally charged, that's what's going on. There's a lot of pressure to overcharge people so that the plea bargains can accurately represent what the criminal activity actually was. And so that's something that happens a lot in criminal cases too. Now, I do have to say that I'm not into this in any way, shape, or form. Actually, I think it's very distasteful, and the publishers, you know, as I'm looking at this newspaper, I don't want to focus on anybody's names because I don't want to make it part of our video blog, but this is the Bad and Busted 5 for Habersham, Rabin, Banks, White, Stevens counties, issue 49, December 6, 2017. And on page 10, no, not page 10, on page 11, I just want to show you one thing that's in here that I just think, you know, I think it's disgusting to make it your business to publish all of these mugshots of people who've been arrested, some guilty, some truly innocent, and also some of the other material that's in here is truly offensive. So I'm just going to hold this up for the camera. Can you focus on that? Yeah. All right. So this is a picture that's published in this newspaper, and it's a picture of, it's a picture of one of those things that you hang from the rearview mirror in a car with the scent, and it's the one that's shaped like a pine tree, and it says, "Niggas be like, just finished putting up my Christmas tree." You know, I really think that's completely disgusting, and it's not something that needs to be put into a newspaper for people to read. I just think it's wrong, and I would just encourage the publisher of this newspaper to think twice about what kind of garbage you're putting out there for people to read. So the other thing I have to tell you is, as a criminal defense attorney, it drove me nuts that newspapers would publish the reports of my clients getting arrested, but then there would never be a follow-up to say the charges got dropped, the guy was actually innocent, or those felony charges that we reported, they didn't stick, the guy got a misdemeanor conviction. And I think that every state ought to have a law that says if you're going to publish the mugshots, if you're going to publish information pertaining to the arrests of people, then it should be mandatory under the First Amendment. It should be mandatory to follow that up with the disposition of the criminal case so that the readers understand what happened. Anyways, I'm attorney Ben Schwartz. I hope you enjoyed this 10 with Ben episode. If you have a thought on these mugshots on websites, newspapers that publish this type of arrest information, give us a comment on this video or send me an email. I'm ben.schwartz@schwartzandschwartz.com.